A very good evening. Much thanks for joining us here on the program. The day is 15th of December 2022. Christmas fast approaching, but we're still here to keep you up to date with all the stories that are making headlines and making sure that you are on the know and everything that is around you. This is Lookup News. I am Nelima, and our sign language interpreter for tonight is Philista Adundo. Before we get in all the business, here are our top stories. Tonight on Lookup News.
You don't have to fight for only road transport, especially now we are struggling with many people bringing unroadworthy vehicles to the road to carry out to fight for the space in road transport.
Government to embark on major crackdown on defective vehicles ahead of the festive season.
Kila mtu ana maoni yake kuhusu vile pengine wangependa serikali iendeshwe. Wakati maoni hayo yatapelekwa kwenye bunge, basi tutakuwa na msimamo.
LSK falls President Ruto proposal to amend the constitution. And Sonko sues Supreme Court demanding compensation over unfair hearing. Once more, welcome to the program. The hashtag is Lookup News at Lookuptv on Twitter, Lookuptv on Facebook, and Lookuptv on our YouTube channel. Let's begin. The government has announced a major crackdown in the country targeting defective personal and public vehicles on the roads ahead of the festive season that have been attributed to the rise of fatal accidents in the last couple of days. Addressing the press in Naivasha, Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has said the crackdown will be carried out by NTSA and Traffic Police.
After the Greasy Road accident in Gata along the Nakuru-Eldoret highway that involved 2 matatus and a trailer and left 7 dead and others injured, Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has announced a crackdown on unroadworthy vehicles as Kenyans prepare to travel to different parts of the country during the festive season.
Working hard to ensure that enforcement is done, NTSA working with the police to make sure that enforcement of the existing traffic rules is achieved.
While urging transport companies to avoid overworking the drivers so as to avoid accidents caused by fatigue.
Drivers are overworking because there is business. The business owners are pushing drivers too much because of the business that is there. Instead of, we want to encourage the business owners to hire more drivers and give our young people more work instead of overworking those who are already in place, and when they are fatigued, now they cause accidents in our roads. Again, that is an area that we must work with the associations to ensure that we achieve that.
Further, Murkomen has urged passengers not to allow incompetent and drunk drivers to ferry them so as to avoid loss of lives, urging them to take action immediately.
If you're overspeeding, if the old passengers in unison tell the driver, you either go properly or we report you to the police or we alight from this vehicle, we will be able to achieve more enforcement.
This comes after the ministry launched passenger trains from Nairobi to Kisumu, targeting over 800 passengers, meant to decongest the roads and reduce the number of accidents involving PSVs ferrying passengers to various parts of the country daily.
Every day, they will carry people from Nairobi to Kisumu. One train will carry about 800 people. So 800 people would have been, if you get 14-seater matatus, you will need about 80 of them, to carry, more than 80 actually, or about 80 to carry people to Kisumu. Now, one train will do that. And if you book early and the demand goes higher, we can also increase the number of trains based on demand.
Murkomen has said the SGL train to Mombasa is also fully booked during the festive season, though plans were underway to increase the number of coaches. Edwin John Mukora, Lookuptv.
And the Law Society of Kenya has opposed proposals by President William Ruto to have the constitution amended, tearing down into key proposals including creation of office of leader of opposition. LSK stated that the leader of the opposition slot conflicts with the country's system of separation of power, terming its institutionalization impractical.
Few days after President William Ruto wrote constitution amendment proposals to the two speakers of the bicameral House of the Parliament, the Law Society of Kenya LSK came out with clear minds to oppose the move.
That goes against the procedure and the process that has been set out in the Constitution.
While addressing the media at LSK offices in Nairobi County, the LSK President Eric Deuri accused President William Ruto of trying to amend the Constitution unlawfully.
So what we are calling on whoever who wishes to promote a constitutional amendment is to follow the law. Because you cannot use unconstitutional means to amend the Constitution.
While dismissing President Ruto's proposals, Deuri stated that due to the nature of the proposal, the National Assembly does not have the rigid restrictions to carry it on.
It should not even be discussed in Parliament because in itself it turns logic on its head in terms of the current composition of the Parliament as we know it.
Deuri added that Ruto's proposals are contrary to the court instructions, which led to nullification of constitution amendments under the Building Bridges Initiative BBI.
The amendments are being initiated by the President contrary to the decision in the BBI case, and so therefore they should not see the light of day in Parliament, as there being a very clear precedent that has been set by the courts that those proposed amendments should not be entertained by Parliament.
Deuri has now called on the Senate and the National Assembly to drop the proposals, stating that they are ready to challenge the process in court should the Parliament carry it on.
That should Parliament proceed to take up this initiative, then the Law Society shall be challenging whatever process they undertake in court.
Last week, President William Ruto wrote to the Speaker of the National Assembly and that of the Senate, requesting them to push for a constitution amendment to create an official office of the Leader of Opposition, to legalize various national funds in the Constitution such as CDF Fund, and to facilitate the participation of cabinet secretaries and principal secretaries in parliamentary proceedings. It is a proposal that the Azimio coalition led by their Supreme Raila Odinga has continued to disown. The Law Society of Kenya have stated that should the Parliament agree to the recommendation of proposals to amend the Constitution by the President, then they will be challenging the process before the court. Reporting for Lookuptv from LSK offices in Nairobi, my name is Shadrach Kareria.
Thank you, Kareria, for the details. With at least 900,000 students graduating each year, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is insisting that the Kenya Kwanza government priority is creating jobs for the youth in the country, as lack of jobs continues to be one of the main problems amongst the youth, leading to crime.
Speaking at the Huawei Trade Fair in Nairobi, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has insisted that the government's top priority is job creation, urging stakeholders in the security sector to deploy NYS officers to man government institutions and let police officers fight insecurity in the country.
As Cabinet Secretary, we want to have a discussion with government ministries and parastatals and other state corporations to have a concrete plan on how to remove our officers from the security forces to go and deal with crime. And we can have NYS personnel man those offices at a fee. They shouldn't be free, so that we can create a revolving fund to train more people. That is a conversation that we want to have. That we don't want our officers from the National Police Service. We want them to go and fight bandits. We want them to go and fight criminals. We want them to go and deal with the eradication of crime. And the NYS personnel, because they are disciplined, they can do most of the work in terms of controlling people coming in and out of buildings. But we want to have a conversation about payment. We don't want them to offer a free service.
Gachagua also urged stakeholders in the private sector to create more jobs in the country, in a bid to boost the government efforts in tackling unemployment in the country.
An employment crisis in this country is a time bomb. And therefore, any investor, any entrepreneur, any organization that has a program that will create an extra job is our natural partner and friend. And therefore wish to celebrate way for the good job that you are doing. You are our friends, you are our partners. We'll be available to you at all times to discuss job creation. We are a call away. Anything that creates jobs is a priority for the Ruto administration.
His part, Sports and Culture Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba indicated that at least 500 NYS officers will secure jobs with the tech company Huawei, while noting the importance of job creation in the country, as the number of unemployed youths is always on the rise yearly.
Your Excellency, the ministry has negotiated with Huawei for placement of 500 NYS graduates to be placed in various positions in the year 2023. As the minister that has been given the privilege and the responsibility to lead the government's program for the youth, I want to tell the young people of Kenya that you are a top priority for the Kenya Kwanza government.
Ian Keitani, Lookuptv.
And now to the corridors of justice. Embattled former Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko has filed a case at Mombasa High Court seeking compensation from the Supreme Court. Sonko is adamant the High Court in the land violated his constitutional right by dragging his impeachment case determination in what he says was a deliberate move to serve malicious interests. Our reporter Henry Tende looks at the tribulations surrounding the flamboyant politician who has an active case at the EAC Court of Jurisdiction that seeks to overturn his impeachment ruling.
If you thought the Supreme Court ruling that upheld impeachment motion and barred former Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko from vying for any elective seat was the last kick in his fight for his rights, then you need to think again. Mike Mbuvi Sonko is back at the corridors of justice. This time round, he is suing the Supreme Court for delaying the determination of his impeachment case for 2 years. In his prayers before the Mombasa High Court, the flamboyant former politician wants, among other things, the High Court to find the Supreme Court violated his fundamental rights by delaying the judgment of his impeachment case, only doing so in haste 2 years later. Sonko says the delay cost him a lot of money and time. Sonko is also aggrieved that the delay cost him mental anguish since it came 2 weeks after the Mombasa High Court had declared his candidature in the Mombasa gubernatorial race. That impeachment, according to Sonko, meant that he had to drop out of the race even after investing a lot of money in campaign. Sonko is therefore seeking 50 million in compensation. Sonko has maintained malice in the way the highest court in the land handled his case, at one point picking out the Chief Justice Martha Koome for discussing the merits of his case prejudicial. In the Supreme Court directions of July 11th this year, Sonko says the same court had to apologize after it established it had failed to issue directions in regards to filing submissions in support of the petition. Sonko reads malice in all this, and he remains convinced his tribulations were politically motivated. The former Nairobi governor has an active appeal at the Supreme Court as he seeks to reverse the court's decision that upheld his impeachment on corruption allegations, consequently barring him from holding elective public post. He has also launched an appeal at the East African Court of Jurisdiction over the same. Henry Tende, Lookuptv.
That story by Henry Tende takes us to a very fast break here on the program, but we'll be back with so much more on the business front and in some sporting action.
With 5.95 million, you can get a 3-bedroom flat roof bungalow at Golden Park, Juja.
This is the CEO. This time, I'm hosting a gentleman.
We are actually into making a new space whereby people can come online and trust whatever they're buying.
We've handed over 9 estates and the 10th handover is coming soon. Your dream home is just a step away.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College is focused on being the leading technical and vocational training institute in the region. Our team possesses in-depth knowledge and extensive experience in the industry, offering thorough training in cosmetology, hairdressing, interior design, creative arts, training of trainers, nail technology, and fashion design. With branches in Nairobi, Thika, Meru, Eldoret, and now in Mombasa, our courses ensure that learners are completely equipped with knowledge, competency, and employability skills. Enroll today to be a part of a center of excellence.
So mimi nilikuwa mmoja wa timu kubwa ya Hasla na gojea mazao yake.
Na bila shaka mpenzi mtazamaji, ni awamu nyingine tena ya bunge la mwenyeji ambapo tunasikia tu maoni ya wenyeji, hasa wananchi wa kawaida. Je, maoni ni yapi?
Anakwambia wananchi ndio kila kitu. Unaona dips na system ni wananchi. Unaona vile wamenyorosha watu bwana.
Tumeng'oa nanga kwenye bunge la mwenyeji.
So ile kitu nasema tunamuomba asituachilie.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with Lookuptv. The hashtag is Lookupnews. Nancy Nelima here and Felista Adundo on the sign language interpretation. The government is now seeking a joint partnership with the Chinese government in the extension of the standard gauge railway SGR from Mai Mahiu to Malaba. Speaking in the Inland Container Depot ICD in Mai Mahiu, Naivasha, the Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has said the government was keen to revamp railways across the country as they had turned out to be cheaper and safer in transportation of goods.
The GR project is eventually supposed to go all the way to Malaba border to join together, because it's not a Kenyan project alone, it's an East Africa project, to join together with what our brothers are doing in Uganda, and then to Rwanda, to Congo, and make our African trade become successful, and business connecting people, trade in goods and trade in services will be improved by having this infrastructure extended. When the rail will open up the new transport corridor through Narok, through Bomet, through Nyamira, and then Kisii and Kisumu, that will open up a new corridor of transport.
And Nakuru County executive members have today been sworn in after months of court battles over their nomination to the cabinet. The 11 executive members are set to begin working tomorrow, with Governor Kihika urging them to serve the people diligently.
Now it is time to get to office and start working. So let me take this opportunity to congratulate all the 10 of you. And I am very, very delighted that finally this day has come, because it has been a bit overwhelming for the last almost 3.5 months, maybe, because we have not been able to move as fast as we would have wanted to. But finally the day is here, and now we can get to work. I have a lot of confidence in each and every one of you, and that is why you are sitting here. So I am sure that Nakuru is in good and safe hands, in your hands. So thank you very much, and hopefully you will make us proud. I'm sure you will. I want to let you know that Nakuru is not a walk in the park. You will have to work. You will have to work, and I'm sure you know that. Let me also say that I will not be expecting you all to have any interdepartmental wrangles, that I will expect you to maintain integrity, and I have zero tolerance for lack of integrity. And I don't want you to be too embroiled in bureaucracy. So I want you to focus on service delivery to the people and being servants of the people. You are servants of the people. And I want to assure Nakuru County at large that the new cabinet here is representative of every part of this county, of every individual in this county.
Niko hapa kushukuru sana kwa jinsi ambavyo umeongoza hii county yetu, the leadership that you provided. Wakati ambapo umekuwa ukiongoza peke yako, tunashukuru sana kwamba you've really been composed and in turbulence you provided direction. In turmoil you've shown us the path and you've provided a very direct and clear path to our county. Tunakushukuru sana.
And now to some Mount Kenya politics. Kiambu County leaders who lost in the August polls have pledged to support President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua. Led by former Governor James Nyoro, they say they have agreed to support the government, saying the region will not want to be associated with the opposition.
We are here to make a statement on the just concluded general election and the subsequent transition, and our support to the government of His Excellency President William Samoei Ruto and his deputy, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua. We acknowledge that it is now time to develop and transform this nation, and especially our economy, for the benefit of our people. Would like to congratulate His Excellency the President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, and his deputy, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, on their win during the August election, and for the way they have so far steered the transformation of this country in various diverse sectors, as witnessed in the last 100 days of their leadership. We, the leaders who contested the various positions in diverse parties in Kiambu, like to emphatically assure the President of our sincere loyalty and support to his government, yes, as he continues to implement various development agenda and pledges to the people of Kenya.
We want to be included in the current government. We've been with the previous government, worked with it, paid our loyalties to it. Now we have new leadership who want to shift our loyalty to the new leadership.
Development conscious, and we are there to stay. And we are making a clarion call to all the leaders, not only those who are here, even those who are outside. We never made it to come to here. Some of them are MCAs, former MCAs. Let us now join hands and create a better Kiambu.
And switching gears to the business front, Kenyan investors are changing investment strategies to combat the ever-rising inflation, which is eating into the return on investment in various assets in the country. This is according to a 2022 expectancy report by Standard Chartered Bank that examines the shifts in investor decisions for more than 15,000 emerging high-affluent investors. Edwin John Mukora now reports.
With inflation currently a global phenomenon in leading economies, local investors are adjusting their investment strategies to counter their reducing margins from what has been historically profitable assets, with majority moving to safe havens. 50% of local investors have cited inflation as a factor driving their investment decision, with 83% of them citing the uncertainty in global economy, with 15% convinced that a recession is near-making. On the other hand, top concern for international investors are the rising inflation at 34%, recession at 27%, and uncertain global economy at 22%. In order to counter these concerns, local investors have made changes to their finances, with 47% of them opting to spend less, while 31% of them opting to make new decisions around their portfolios, prompting shifts in major asset classes. 61% of global investors are looking to reduce their cash holdings, compared to 67.5% of Kenyan investors, with the report report predicting a fall in global cash allocations to 15% in 2023 compared to 26% recorded this year. In 2023, gold continues to be a high interest for the local investors, with 43% saying they have invested as a result of inflation. Those with interest in stocks came at 46%, which has the same figure for bonds normally considered a secure investment vehicle, both locally and internationally. On seeking professional advice to manage their wealth and diversify their portfolio, 62% of global investors were primarily managing their own finances, with some variation across markets. Many investors in Kenya at 35% use professional wealth managers. The research reveals that 75% of local investors still believe that digital assets are an important part of any investment portfolio, despite multiple setbacks this year. Some have seen crypto dip in value. Currently, 66% of global investors hold digital assets compared to 73% in Kenya, with many saying they have considered them a good way to diversify their portfolios. Edwin John Mukora, Look Up Business.